So, hello everybody, here I'm back. Now we're going to start with the first turn of the road to Leningrad. Like I said, it's the Axis player who has the first go. And when we look at the phases, the first phase is the supply phase. Now, supply, or being in supply, is described as being 3 hexes away from a certain point on the map. In this case, it actually isn't even on the map because the Axis players need to be three uninterrupted hexes away from a supply line that links them to Berlin. So Berlin is not on the map, but we know it's kind of here in the west, in the southwest. So we can kind of imagine where it is. So basically what I do is I will make sure that these guys are out of supply, or I will put them down as out of supply if they cannot trace 3 clear hexes between themselves and a supply line back to the west. So for example, if these guys were here, they would be out of supply because there is an enemy unit between them, which basically, you know, blocks any possibility of getting here and a direct supply line. Because you could say, okay, there's a train line here, but there is an enemy unit here. There is an enemy unit between these 2 units, so this is how I define in supply. The same goes for the Russians. They are in supply if they have 3 hexes between themselves and the nearest way, supply line that will supply them in Siberia, which is over here. So again, the rules are kind of, you know, not written too well, not written too clearly, but I suppose the main thing is that we check, would we believe that these guys could be in supply if we always use the same rule, and this is how I'm going to play it. Also, as you will remember, I said that each of these units that has a dot has to be positioned in a certain way. On their first positioning, the Soviet units have to have their dot in the lower left-hand corner, so this way, and the Germans have to have the dot in the right bottom corner. Now, this means that, and this is something that puzzled me in the beginning, some of these units are not at their highest possible step. So for example, this tank up here only has 1 step. Maximum would be 3. So it took me some time to rationalize this for myself because the rules don't mention anything about this at all. But what I believe this means is that this is the way they start. In a later supply phase, when I get supply tokens, in the base game you only have yellow supply tokens. They look like this. You can buy steps. And so I suppose that, and it says here that each white step for a unit costs 2 points. So if I have 4 points as the Russian player, I can give them away and give this tank and move it up to 3. So this is how I'm going to play it. I'm not sure why this is the case, why they start at less than full, well, some of them start at less than full steps, but it could be that this is some kind of historical reflection, you know, maybe they weren't ready, and maybe some of the Germans weren't ready either. But let's put it this way, this is how I interpret the rules. So now what happens first is that the Axis player will now start moving. And basically the movement points are 4 combined, because some of these stacks contain artillery, and artillery at Tech 2 can only move 4. If I only had cavalry, then they would be able to move 5, but I don't have any cavalry. I have infantry there. Movement allowance is 4, and artillery is 4, and tanks are 4 as well. So each of these stacks can move 4, and these guys can move 10 for the fighter, and the bomber can go 10 as well. Sorry, the bomber can go 10 and the fighter can go 5. So, sorry, yeah, it can go 5, yeah. So basically the first movement phase is the air phase. Production phase we don't have on the first go. So, first we move the ground units. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make an all-out assault on the Russians. So I'm going to move in here. I'm going to move, and how you move is basically you move into the same hex as the enemy that you want to attack. So I'm going to move these ones over here. These ones are going to go in here. These ones are going to go in here. And these ones are going to go in here, and these ones are going to go in here. Now the issue with this is all of these Russians will be very, very overpowered because they are all one-step units. The infantry is only 1 step, and this tank also is only 1 step, which, you know, made me think in the beginning, am I playing this right? Because these are really weak units, but the dot is in the lower left-hand corner, so it has to be right, or else the rules are really misleading. So now I've moved. And now the next thing that happens is the air units. After that, the phasing player moves his air units. I may now move any number of my supplied air units, these 2, to any battle location hexes within 5 or 10 hexes. So this bomber can go 5, 1, 2, 3, and the bomber can go 10. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. He's going to attack this one. Now this is done. And now what we have is the defender reaction phase. After the phasing player, i.e. the axis player, has moved all of their units, the non-phasing player may react by moving any number of supplied air units to any battle location hexes within 5, 10 or 15 hexes of their air bases. The Russians don't have any air units, so this doesn't apply. Now, I can now have the combat phase, which starts with air-to-air combat step. This combat step happens only if both sides have air units, which is not the case, so we can skip this. Anti-aircraft fire step. So now these 2 Russians get the opportunity to fight against these 2 air units respectively. And they roll 1 die per step. And this is based off of their defense. So this one up here is a tank at Tech 2. For the Russians, this means it will hit at a 5 or 6. And I roll a 1, so no hit. And this one down here, the infantry rolls a 2, so no hit either. And now the bomber and the fighter get to hit as well. So this one will hit at a 6, and I get to roll 5 dice. And I roll a 6. So now the issue is that this one has been reduced to 0 because it only had 1 step to begin with. So it goes in the bag, it's gone, it's been eliminated. The bomber up here will attack the tankette for 5, and this one hits on a 5 or 6. I get a 5 and a 6, so this tankette is effectively removed as well. So this is quite interesting because only in the air assault step have I already eliminated 2 Russian troops. So, or 2 Russian units, I should say. Now, this has been done. Now the next step is the ground combat step. There is nothing to look at from a terrain point of view, because they're all in normal terrain or in a yellow dot city, which has no impact whatsoever. So we're going to start down here. First, the defender's role. So this is the defending unit, and it has 1 step. So I roll a 6, which is brilliant because now I get to reduce 1 of the Germans. And when you start reducing, you always reduce the most important one, the strongest one. So this would usually be this one here. Now, as you can see, it has 6 steps and then 4. So basically, in order for this one to be reduced, you need to hit it twice. So this one actually only tilts like this. So now I get to hit them back. This is the artillery, which hits for 4 steps, 10, 14 dice, and I need to roll. And so that's 5 dice, and I roll a 6 already. So this is this one taken care of. This one is eliminated. So the Russians are not doing too well. Now, this infantry unit rolls 1 for 1 step. So it's a 1, so it doesn't work. Nothing happens. And here we have 5, 3. Sorry, I forgot to do the artillery fire step first. Yeah, that should have come first. So we're going to miss it here, but we're going to use it here. 4, that should have come before that. 4, and that nothing happens, but I reduce it by 2 because now they're out of ammo. So now these 3 and 5 infantry units attack this 1 infantry unit for 0 hits on 5, and again on 0 hits. So this combined assault on this one has been completely without any effect. Now again, here we have the infantry for 1, rolls a 1, nothing happens. Here we have 5 infantry, and they roll nothing, it is of any importance, and then 3 for the tank, and the tank hits with a 5, so this one is eliminated too. They don't have to fight because this Russian unit was already eliminated by the fighter bombers. And here we have the tank hitting for 6, gets eliminated, so this one gets reduced. And now we have 3 infantries, and we roll a 5, which does nothing. So basically what we now have is we have the next phase, which allows the defender, if they so wish, to retreat. And I think I am going to do just that, just for the fun of it. Interestingly enough, I find this too easy. I mean, I don't know if this is really how it should be played, because even in the first round, I vanquished and almost totally annihilated the Russians down here. So I'm going to retreat this one, and I'm going to retreat this one, which also means that obviously the Germans get to move in here. And now it is the Russian player's phase. He cannot use the Leningrad group because they are frozen. He will have to wait until the next turn. So here we have now these two Russian troops, and what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to withdraw them as far as I can to the north. Now this infantry unit has a movement of 4, so I'm going to move 1, 2, 3, 4, and this tank unit has a movement of 4 as well. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Actually, I'm going to move these two together so that I can stack them in a later turn, so to give them more power. So now they have withdrawn, and now what happens is this is the end of the first turn. This game only has 4 turns, so we are now somewhere we started in June, so now we started in June, and now it's the Axis, for June 41 I should say, now it's the Axis players, July 23rd, 1941, and now we need to consult this chart. This is the chart that tells us if there are any reinforcements coming in. And we can see that there are. On July 23rd, 1941, the German player gets 1 artillery, 3 infantry, and 1 cavalry unit. And we can consult the Soviet players, and something does happen there as well. We are getting a bomber. So I now need to retrieve these couple of units from the bag, and I'm going to bring them in. Thank you very much.